Well, hi everybody. Thanks so much for joining me on this Facebook Live. I am super excited to be talking about this topic. I love photography, so I am wanting you to get the most out of your photos. So today we are going to be talking about what you should be doing with all those holiday photos on your devices, on your camera, on your phones, on your iPads, everything. So I know that probably a lot of us have some extra time on our hands lately, so this is the perfect time to be able to go through these, relive those travel experiences, and be able to keep those experiences safe for the future as well. So now we're going to try and figure out what the heck to do with them. I also want to say, if you guys have any questions or if you have any tips yourself that you do with your photos, plop them into the comments down at the bottom and I will go through them at the end. Okay, so what you should be doing with all those holiday photos on your camera right now. So this is the perfect time with all the extra free time that we have on our hands. So first one, okay, you want to back them up. Now, I know the majority of people out there have never taken their photos off their devices. If you have a camera, you're more likely to have uploaded them to your computer, but even then, they usually stay on your computer and you do nothing with them, other than just the slideshow that usually probably runs through on your holding screen. With our smartphones being pretty much the people's number one option to take photos on their travels, you want to make sure you don't lose them. So you want to be able to back them up because if something goes wrong with your phone, either it gets stolen, or if you drop it in the toilet, or if it just dies on you, which has happened to me as well. So this is the number one thing you want to do, is make sure you back them up. So with this, you can do it a couple different ways. You want to use the cloud and an external hard drive. I would carry 2 hard drives with me while I was traveling, so that I would always have my photos in 2 different places. I tend not to keep them necessarily on my computer because it takes a lot of space with the size of my photos. Also with the cloud, while traveling, some places do not have really good Wi-Fi and internet connections, so it just takes way too long for me to upload the amount of photos that I take up to the cloud. So this way I'm easily able to have them in 2 different places, have them 2 different drives, and have them in 2 different areas in my luggage. Next, you want to make sure you don't use social media as one of your places. Now, a lot of people, upload them and put them on Facebook or Instagram, and that the thing is when you do this, they condense down your photos. So if you're ever wanting to make a print down the line and say you just download it from, or you save as on your computer from one of the photos on Facebook, you're not going to be able to make any real large prints. You might be able to get a 4x6 possibly out of it, but that's about it. So you want to make sure that you're not using social media as one of your places where you're going to be saving your photos in case you want to use them down the road. So also try and do not necessarily just 2 hard drives. You want to alternate having the cloud and a hard drive. Because I have had it in the past where a hard drive has basically broken and I couldn't get any of the files off there anymore. So you want to have it in 2 different areas, and ones in the cloud are usually always pretty safe. So there's a bunch of cloud options out there. These are just a few examples. So iCloud, it's basically for Apple. So you have this on your phone, iPad, that you can turn on, and it gives you a certain amount of space for free, and then you can always pay. It's a monthly service fee, so you just pay that monthly, and then it automatically backs up all your photos on your device. Amazon Prime is another really good one. It's a great thing if you are a Prime member, that you are able to, they include a photo storage option in there as well. So you can back them all up into their cloud. Dropbox is very popular. Again, with this one, you can sign up for a free one. It gives you a certain amount of space on the free, and then you can always expand that and pay for extra space. And same with Google Drive and Google Photos. So you can log on to those. Those are obviously Android friendly. Same with Amazon and Dropbox. They're both Mac and Apple and Android. So try out one of those, take a look and see what you like, and then you can go from there. Next is hard drive options. So I usually go with Seagate, Western Digital are the two that I mainly go for. And then there's also your computer. Your computer obviously has a hard drive. If you do have a lot of photos, or if you see that it's taking up a lot of space, you'll see that your computer slows down a lot. So you want to make sure that you have them in a place where it's not going to necessarily slow down everything. So you can have them on your computer, but you can also transfer them off into a hard drive. I take way too many photos, and my photos are quite large. And even on phones nowadays, you'll find that the file sizes of the photos, because they're such good quality now, that they do take up quite a lot of space if you keep racking them up. So you just want to make sure that you have it somewhere safe, and that you'll be still be able to use your computer as useful as it can be. So the next thing you want to do is you want to organize all your photos into folders. Now, there are many different systems to organize, so you want to basically choose one that works for you so that your brain remembers how to find them and easily locate all your photos. You know, basically trust me, because I am still in a bit of photo hell, because I have not always organized my photos very good. I am either in a rush or too lazy, or I just really didn't have a system at that point, that I was just uploading them onto my hard drives and then just putting them into just odd files. So I'm paying for it now. Basically, I'm trying to when you're trying to locate photos and images that you know you've taken, and trying to find those specific photos, it could be a nightmare, because you just spend so long trying to find that exact photo that you're looking for, and it's not helpful or conducive to being happy with your photos. So you want to be able to show yourself how to get to them. Now, I'm going to show you how I organize my photos. You can use this system, or you can use one that's similar to it. You know, you can tweak mine, or you can use one completely to what you think is going to work for you. Basically, I create all my photo folders first before I upload all my photos. That way I have specific ones that I can just drag and drop into. It just makes it a little bit easier. So, first folder I have is the year plus the trip name. So I named this one 2019 Europe trip. Pretty easy. I like to do the date first, because most of the time when you're doing files, it will basically alphabetize all the files. So you want to make sure I always do the numbers first, and then that way I'm easily able to find what year I'm looking for. Next, I do it either by dates or by cities. So I will either put in all the dates that I was on my trip, or I can do it, I've also done it in a way where I will do Paris, day one, and stuff like that. So I'll name the city that it is and which day it was, and then that'll help you be able to find those photos quicker, because if you just put everything into like a Paris folder, and say you were there for 5 days and you wanted to find that picture of you standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, well, if you had them sorted into days, you knew which day that you went to the Eiffel Tower, which is probably day 3. And then you could go into day 3 Paris and find that so much quicker. And then I would go through those and I would sort them into either good or bad, or yes and no. I'm basically a yes and no person, and that works for me. So it's pulling them in, which ones do you like, which ones do you not like, and then you just sort them into there. You're able to delete the no's, so you can get all those files off your computer or off your drives. And then I go into my goods or my yeses, and I will put in favorites. So the favorites are ones that you want to do something with. You know, the other ones are still good. You know, they may go into something else, but these ones you definitely want something to do with them. So pull them out and pick your favorites. And then I have lastly my edited file. So I will go through my favorites because sometimes you have a lot of good ones still, and you don't necessarily want to edit every single one. So I just edit my favorite ones, and if I need ones going forward, then I'll just edit the odd one here and there. But this way you have your favorites and you go in and you edit, and then you put them into your edited ones. So you have your originals and then you have your edited versions. So that is my file system. It is pretty easy once you start getting into doing it all, but it's just getting set up and knowing what you need. So next one you want to do is cull your photos. So this is basically what you are going to be doing for your good and bad, or yeses and nos. Some of you may not be familiar with the word cull, but it's basically a term that means narrowing down your photos so you only see the good ones and you only save the good ones. So basically narrowing it all down so you're not just overwhelmed with a whole lot of photos, because we know if you're anything like me, and especially when you're trigger happy on that button, you take more than one photo of the exact same thing. So you just pick the good one and you delete the rest. So let's go through this. And okay, so first you want to go through and delete all the duplicates and the ones that are crapola. I thought this was a very relevant photos for you to take a look at. Just a side note, this is in Mongolia, and these are the different types of toilets you will encounter in Mongolia. A whole lot of stories behind those ones, but I bet you wouldn't think that the one in the hut was the worst smelling one of all. So just giving you a little visual for that. You're welcome. So once you go through and get rid of all the crappy photos, then you want to go through and separate your favorite ones from the rest. This helps you manage, you know, which ones to show, which ones to print, or which ones to tell a story. They're all going to be a little bit different. You know, you're going to have some of the good ones that you're going to be building out a story from your trip. They're not necessarily your favorites, but they're little, you know, little tidbits of stuff around your favorite photos that is going to tell you a whole story. And then next you want to edit your photos. So a lot of people don't necessarily edit their photos, or they just go in and blast it with filters and stuff like that. So I want to take you through and just give you like a little overview of how to edit your photos. And basically you want to not go overboard with the editing so that it looks fake, unless that's the image that you're going for. But the more realistic and just like oomph it up more, the better your photos are going to look, and the more impressed people are going to be with your photography, because people can usually tell nowadays which ones are really edited. So we're going to go through, and I'm just going to go through different things on your edits that you just want to take a look at and see how you do. So I'm just going to turn me off here for a second while I go through these so you can take a look. So basically the ones on the left hand side, these ones are the unedited photo. And the ones on the right are the ones that are going to be edited. So this one was just edited with the highlights. So you'll see these little options on all of the apps and programs that I'll tell you about later. So this one just does the highlights. You don't see too much of a difference, but except you'll see, especially in the sky, you'll see that it just brightened everything up. Next is shadows. Now every photo is going to be different because it'll depend on what you're looking for. This one I found like the original was pretty dark, so I cranked up the shadows to show you a bit more of what was there. Usually I'm a shadow, bring either down the shadows, or if you have someone like wearing a hat and their face is in shadow, you can bump up those shadows and brighten them. Next one is your blacks. So anything that is black or dark in the image, when you pull this down, it's going to darken those. When you pull it up, it's going to lighten all your darks. So this one here, I made more dark, so I had more of a moodiness to it. Next, you want to take a look at your whites. So whites just kind of brightens your photo without being too extreme with like the exposure. This one here, you'll see that the sky is brighter, the buildings are brighter, and that. Next is vibrancy. So vibrancy is going to be basically they work to intensify the colors of an image. I'm just going to flip back and forth because I'll talk about, so this is vibrancy and this one's saturation. You probably won't see too much difference on this one between the two. But basically the difference between vibrancy and saturation is that they both work to increase or decrease the intensity of a color in an image. But saturation, it basically increases the intensity of all the colors of the image, whereas vibrancy increases the intensity of just the muted colors because they don't really touch the colors that are already saturated. This also helps when you're doing photos with people in it because it won't really touch the skin tones of the picture. You'll see if you up the saturation with people in it, a lot of people will go orange or they'll go funny colors. So you want to make sure that you are probably using vibrancy first, and then if you need a little bit more oomph, then I would go to saturation. So use those two. Don't want to overdo, like when you overdo things, this is where you could go wrong, is using the saturation and the vibrancy. So you want to make sure that you're doing it enough that it looks like how you remember it and a little oomph instead of like in Technicolor. Really out there. Next is contrast. So this basically gives you a little bit of a sharper image, not sharper, but more, I want to say oomph. I don't know if you're going to get that. This one I upped it. So I thought the original one was too contrasty. So like there's lots of darks and lots of lights in there. Whereas when I upped the contrast on the other one, it kind of flattened those out. So it made it a little bit more even keeled, a little bit, not so hard. And then clarity. Clarity is going to basically sharpen up your image in it. So you want to press up the clarity. Don't do it too much or it's not going to look nice, and it won't print nice either if you're going to print. So you only want to use clarity sparingly. Another tip for clarity for all you people out there that take people photos, if you bump it down a little bit, not a lot, down a little bit, you just kind of even out those wrinkles and those fine lines just a little bit. Now again, you want to be careful how much you do that because you will start to turn into a very fake version of yourself. But if you just do it a tiny bit, it'll add a little youthfulness to yourself. And then lastly is filters. So everyone knows filters, especially if you use Instagram. There's a whole lot of filters that you can throw onto your photos. And I love filters. I think filters are a great way to really quicken up the process of doing and editing your photos. But the one thing I want you to be aware of is the intensity of the filter. So you can always change the intensity of the filter, especially if you're looking at Instagram. When you go onto the filters, if you double tap on it, it'll bring up like a scroll bar of how intense you want it. So a lot of them don't look great at full intensity. This is a full intensity one, and it's just too blown out. If I brought it down a little bit, it would have been a lot nicer. So you want to make sure that you're using the intensity not necessarily at full blast. And then lastly, this is what I did with the edited photo. So there's not a ton ton of difference between the original and the edited version, but it gives it enough oomph to it that people are going to be like, oh, that's right, really cool photo. So next so I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell you a few free photo editors for your computer. So there's Pixlr, there's Google Photos, and there's PicMonkey. So you can use any of these for free. You just got to download them and then just Google their names and they'll come up, and you pull your photos into it and they'll have a lot of different things that you can use to edit your photos. I personally use Lightroom just because it's a professional program, and I didn't put it on here because it's something that you're going to pay for as it's through Adobe. Next is editing apps on your phone. So some of my favorites are Photoshop Express, Color Story, Storylux, PicTapGo, and Snapseed. So these ones, again, you're going to have a whole lot of options in these. Try them out, see which ones you like best, and then you can just pull them into there. Now comes the fun part, what you want to do with them after you've gone through all this process. Okay, so first, make a print. You know, we used to make prints all the time, but ever since digital, everything stays on our computer and on our phones. So print it out. You know, you can make some 4x6s, but also enlarge them. Make an 8x10, make a 16x20, you know, make some large prints and frame them and mat them. So having a mat around your framed photo is making it more like an art piece. So if you do that, it's going to be so much nicer. Next, make a canvas or specialty print. So when you do canvases, I would not recommend doing one smaller than, you know, like a 10x10, like a square 10x10, because it just kind of gets, there's not a big point to do it that small. Canvases, go bigger, go like a 10x10, go to like a 16x16, go to any size that you want. Like those are square ones. You can do, you know, long ones, tall ones, you know, all sorts. Another thing that you can do to decide how big you want them is determine where you want to hang them first. Once you know how much wall space that you have on there, and if you're just going to be doing one print there, you want to make sure that it fills the space, so it just doesn't get lost and looks a little too small in the space. And the specialty prints. So the specialty prints, you can do like metal prints. You can do prints on wood. You know, there's so many different options that almost all the photo labs do now. So ask them what they have and then try out those different prints on some of your favorite photos. Next is make a photo book. So this is more time consuming, I totally understand, but I love it. It's like a coffee table book of your trip, and it tells you the complete story of what went on. It's something that you can do like really right now. You can go through your photos, and since you have a little bit of extra time, you can take that time and put together a photo book of all your trips. I like to add in text into my photo books instead of just having photos. I've done those as well, but I find there's a little disconnect when you go through that. And if someone's going to be looking at your photo book, they're going to be wondering, okay, well, where is this? You know, what happened here? So if you can do a little story or just like a couple paragraphs or a paragraph or a couple sentences on the pages that you have room for it, do it. And then you'll also remember all those little stories way better when they're written down after a few years. So in those texts, you want to, you know, talk about the sights, the sounds, you know, the feeling that you had. You know, this was the best croissant that I've ever eaten. Tell everyone the who, what, when, where, why. You know, definitely get in there and explain how actually the trip went, even the bad stuff. So Blurb is my favorite photo book company. There's one, you can go to blurb.ca for Canada, blurb.com for America. Now they have all different sizes and types on there. So they have soft cover, they have hard cover, they have all the different sizes. They have lay flat books. So like when you open the book, it lays flat. So like there's not like that little hump in the middle. And then you can also do like little trade books, which I have made, and I made them into notebooks. So I made notebooks where a picture on one side and then kind of lines down the other side, and I use it as a notebook. Blurb is great for discounts. So you want to sign up for their newsletter, and they will send you when their discounts are coming on. So you'll be able to make a bunch of books. I like to put them on hold and just kind of make them and then just put them to the side and wait for one of those discounts to come up. Anyway, to save a little bit of money, right? And then another thing you want to do is look for inspiration in their bookstore. So they do have a bookstore that you can sell your books in, but you can go in there and they have categories for travel books, and they have categories for photo books. Just go in there and see what other people are doing and how they're laying things out. Because you don't want it to be too cluttered with a lot of photos. You want to be able to have, white space and spacing it out. So it's a really nice coffee table book. Next thing, you can make a movie. So this is really easy nowadays as well. But one thing to note, do not make it long, or else no one's going to watch it. Because as you can see, everything that's going on now with video, TikTok and, Insta stories and stuff like that, they're all small. They condense everything down. So it's, just a short clip. So the longer it is, not everyone's going to be watching that. That is going to be a for you thing only, and that's it. So 10 minutes maximum. 5 minutes and under is the most ideal time frame that you want to put in there. You can also add music to your movie as well, which gives it, that very cinematic feel to it. Now, you just want to make sure when you're putting music to your movie that you're not using copyrighted music if you're going to be posting it, say, on any of your social channels like Facebook or Instagram and stuff like that, because they will remove the music for you if you don't have a copyright. But in almost all the different video making apps, movie apps, they will have music in there that you can use that will be able to use on social media. And so some video apps are Filmora Go, iMovie for Apple, which is the one I use, Quick, and Magisto. And so all of these are great. They're all free. Some of them have like some in-purchase apps, in-product app. Nah, you know what I mean. So go to them. They're very easy to use. You just upload your videos. You can also upload photos. So use your photos in there and then just string them all together, and you'll be able to create a movie for everyone to see. Next, make it into a product. So you've got canvas bags. Everyone uses canvas bags nowadays for their groceries and shopping and that. Have one with your photo on it. They're amazing. Shower curtains. They have little purses, pillows. You can make note cards. There's so many different things that you can do now. And most of the photo labs will have different products and stuff like that for you. I can just hear everyone doing the 7 o'clock bells and pots and pan ringing for all the nurses and that. So go ahead and make a product, find what's out there and see what you like. Next, you want to make a calendar for the next year. So I've done this a handful of years, and it's just a great way to experience your travels again through the whole next year. These are also very easy to do, and you can also do them online, and you can also do them at your local labs, say like Costco or something like that. And lastly, you can create an art wall. So I just created this art wall for myself not too long ago, and it's a collection of things that I've gotten on my travels, as well as prints of mine. So I have canvases as well as framed prints, as well as prints on foam core, which I have also hung, and then I've included masks that I've collected over my travels, and also any art pieces that I've brought home from those different trips as well. So it's a great way to really showcase basically all your art for people to see. Lastly, I have a little free download for you guys if you want it. I've just put together my top 7 ways of how to stay healthy while traveling. I think it's a good reference for all of us, basically, for when we start going traveling again. Obviously, we know that we're not necessarily traveling. We're not traveling right now, but we will eventually get back to it. So you want to make sure that you know different ways to stay healthy when you are traveling. I will also plop this link into the comments so you can just click and go to it yourself as well instead of copying this down. You can also screenshot this and take a look at that. So I hope you all learned something and enjoyed the talk. If you have any other questions or if you want to know anything more, please feel free to reach out on Facebook to me or on my email. I'll be happy to answer any questions and connect with you. All right, I hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.